I don't think most marriages end because people stop loving each other. I think they end because of the things that started long before the wedding. This is in my Headspace podcast. Hello, my darlings. Welcome back to the Model Relationship series, and this is episode 4. And today we're talking about something I have genuinely spent a lot of time thinking about. Why do some marriages thrive while others slowly fall apart? Now, I know no one wakes up on their wedding day thinking, oh, I can't wait to divorce this person after 5 years or 2 years or 3 years. No one gets married hoping it will fall. I would like to think that a lot of people get married hoping for it to be a beautiful journey and a forever journey, unless, of course, if there are stated contracts between the two parties. Marriages begin to fall apart, not because of one giant explosion. It's because of those small, quiet things that were ignored from the very beginning, during the relationship. When I studied the couples who actually survived the hard seasons and compare them with the ones that fall apart, you start to notice the distinct pattern. There are specific things that either hold a home together or crush it under pressure. But today, I just want to focus on a few of them that I personally think we don't talk enough about. And it all begins with one person you can actually control: yourself. The first thing I think many people overlook is actually knowing themselves. Before asking who should I marry, maybe the better question is, do I even know myself enough? What are my values? What are your deal breakers? What kind of life do you genuinely want? What can you or cannot tolerate? A lot of people negotiate their standards because they've met someone attractive, successful, financially stable, and they ignore things that they have always said they wouldn't live with because they believe love somehow will fix everything. But love does not erase incompatibility. If honesty matters to you deeply, then you don't have to convince yourself that you will suddenly be okay with dishonesty. If emotional availability is important to you, don't ignore emotional distance because the person checks every other box. Knowing yourself isn't picky. I see a lot of people when they say things like, or this person is always picky, this person doesn't pick, this person does not want to get married or choose people. And I just tell them, it might not actually be that you're picky. It might actually be that you're giving yourself the best chance to choosing wisely. And of course, that can only happen when you truly know yourself. You know what you can handle, you know what you can tolerate. So knowing yourself is the first step to even choosing right. Now, assuming that you've taken the time to understand yourself, the next thing is understanding the person you're choosing. This one is a bit tricky because a lot of people think, oh, once I just meet this person, we're vibing. And they just understand the present thing they're saying. How he buys you flowers, which all of this, they are still important. How he buys you flowers, how he takes you out on dates. But I need people to understand that you're not just marrying this person. You're marrying his childhood trauma if he has any. You're marrying the way he was raised. You're marrying his mentality, his perspective, the way he sees things. And if it does not suit you, or if it does not align with what you want for yourself, there's going to be a problem. There's already a foundational problem. And I don't mean understanding them to just knowing their favorite food and colors. All of that are good. But those, they don't make the cut when life begins to test. I mean understanding who they are, how they communicate, how they manage stress, conflict resolution, how they want to be loved, what makes them feel loved. How do they react when they are hot? One thing I've learned is that loving someone is not just about loving them the way you naturally express love. It's learning to love them the way they receive it. Maybe you love spending quality time, but your partner feels most love through words of affirmation. You have to learn it. You have to understand it. Is it something you can do? Or is it a burden? Maybe you like buying gifts, but they really just want you to be there, sit with them, genuinely listen to them and talk with them. Marriage isn't about just finding another version of yourself. It's about understanding someone who may think differently from you. emotional intelligence becomes very important. If you know your partner is someone who takes words very seriously, then you have to learn to speak wisely and not in a hurtful way. Understanding someone doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. It simply means you care enough to learn how they work. Now, this brings me to what I personally think is one of the biggest reasons marriage struggle. Obviously, I know that the first and the second thing I talked about, knowing yourself, should still be under the foundation. But what I mean by foundation here is the why. You see, a lot of times we do things, and even when the things are stressing us and making us feel a certain way, when we remember the why, we start to tell ourselves that, okay, it's worth the journey, it's worth the sacrifice, it's worth the struggle, it's worth the suffering. Let me keep going, let me put in my effort, let's make it work. That same thing goes to marriage, the why. If your foundation is faulty, your building will collapse. Why are you marrying this person? I think this question sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest questions to answer. Some people have different reasons. Some people will tell you, I just want to leave my parents' house. Others will say, oh, I just want to be free. Some people will say, I just want someone to provide for me, and he's providing for me, so I want to marry him. Some just don't want to be lonely. They just want to marry. Some people are just attracted to beauty. Oh, this person is fine. Oh, I'm going to get married to that person. Others are attracted to status. Now, none of these things are necessarily bad. Attraction matters. Financial stability matters. Friendship matters. But my question is, can your reason survive difficult seasons? If you're able to answer that, then you can tell yourself whether your why is strong enough or if it's weak. Say, for example, you marry somebody because he is wealthy, and maybe a few years down the line, something happened and he can no longer provide for you. Would you still love him and look at him the same way, or look at her the same way? That is why I say the why really matters. If the why is something that is fickle, something that cannot even stand the test of time, I don't even see why you should be in that marriage in the first place. So let me use myself as an example. When I was in the university, I loved bankers. Mind you, I wasn't even a banking student, but whenever I see bankers, I admired them. They looked very psychedelic. They appeared very neat. They looked like they were the real money bags. And so like each time I go to the bank, I'm looking out for them. I'm like, oh my God, these people look so neat. And eventually I became friends with someone who worked in the bank, and the kind of respect I had for that person was so much because, I mean, it's the bank. And this is something I admired, right? I admired their profession. I admired the way they looked. I felt that they were the highest earners in the world. So I really just loved it. And I actually wanted to work in the bank. I looked forward to working in the bank. And guess what? After I got close to my friend and he tells me his job, how stressful, how demanding it is, and the pay, my interest reduced. Why did my interest reduce? Because I wasn't attracted to the reality. I was attracted to the image, and that image was the why I wanted to be in the bank. I wanted to work in the bank when I was done with school. And now that's my why. That reason was not met in the real world. It was just an illusion. It was just an imagination. Now, even if I didn't have a friend and I eventually started working in the bank and I saw all of that, I might be less productive. I may not really want to work. I may not really want to go to work anymore, because the main reason, the why I had in my head, I wasn't seeing it. It was looking like this is the reason why I wanted to be here, and now I am not seeing that reason. Marriage is still the same with that. If you married someone because, oh, this person is financially stable, this person is attractive, oh, this person is this, or this person is that, something that can naturally change. What happens when it changes? What happens when the reason, the why, is no longer there? Would the marriage stay the same? Would you still see the person the same? Will you still see the person as your partner? Or will you feel disgusted? Or will you, any slightest problem, you just want to leave because you feel like your reasons are no longer met to be in the marriage? If your foundation is built on things that can naturally change, your feelings may change as well. That's the honest truth. That is why I think our foundation has to be built on something deeper. I'm talking shared values, character, integrity, the way they handle conflict. Is that person a Christian? The way they treat people closest to them and people that are also strangers. Those are the things that are tested by time and will still stand strong. Not the fickle ones, not the ones that can easily change. The next thing is communication. Now, I know that communication had its own episode in this series. That was like our last episode, but I still needed to mention it here. And honestly, I don't think communication starts in marriage. It starts long before the marriage, during courtship. Courtship is not just about dates. It's not just about matching outfits. All of that, they are all good. But that's not the main reason for courtship. Communication is, you guys would need to talk. A lot of people spend time talking about how they want their decor to be like. How many groomsmen are you having so that I will have a matching bridesmaid? What's the color of the day? How should the food be like? That they forget to talk about their life after the wedding. You need to understand, you need to know or learn how to talk to each other. You need to understand, are you secure talking to this person? Or does this person misunderstand me every single time I talk? Does this person listen to me or does this person hear me? Because these days, a lot of people do more hearing than actually listening. Hearing is totally different from listening. Someone can hear your sound, can hear your mouth moving, but might not really get the point or even listen. Everybody just hears you to reply. They just want you to, okay, make your point and let me make my own point. Healthy communication is not about shouting. It's not about winning an argument. It's about creating a space where both people feel safe enough to tell the truth. Because if you can't honestly talk to that person you're building life with, eventually silence becomes resentment. The next thing I think quietly destroys marriage is unforgiveness. And you know, the interesting thing is, unforgiveness rarely starts with one big offense. It starts with the little things that were never dealt with. A comment that hurts you, and instead of speaking about it, you ignore it. A promise that wasn't kept, instead of speaking about it, you ignore it. A disappointment you never spoke about, you keep telling yourself it's not a big deal, I'll let it go. But you don't actually let it go, you just bury it. And then another thing happens, you bury that one too. Before you know it, you are carrying years of unresolved hurt. That is why sometimes you will hear someone say, you always do this. But what they were really talking about isn't today's issue. They're talking about 5 years of pain. Forgiveness does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means dealing with what happened before it grows into resentment. Because resentment has a way of changing how you see someone. Suddenly, even the good things that they do no longer matter. You don't even see it. You don't even acknowledge it. You might even compare with other ones they're not doing right. Every action begins to irritate you. Not because today's action was terrible, but because yesterday was never even healed from to begin with. Unforgiveness is one of the problem. Because if you don't talk about that, your partner wouldn't know that they hurt you. Sometimes you have to really call to action. You have to tell them that, oh, this really hurt me. And then they would know how to make amends. One thing I have realized is that we are intentional about almost everything in life, except sometimes our relationship or marriage. Well, think about it. If you want a degree, you study for it. You make out time. You do all the assignments and everything. You want to lose weight, you become intentional. Whether you are doing it through surgery or whether you are actually doing it through portion control, you are still putting in the work. You're still making an effort. You're still intentional because you want the result. You want to learn how to drive, you go to a driving school. You pay attention because you want your desired result. If you want to build a business, you put in the work. But somehow, when it comes to marriage, many people believe that love alone should do the work. Love should be enough. You see two people very unintentional about anything. And I don't think so. Love is beautiful, but love still needs effort. Marriage needs maintenance. Everything in this world needs maintenance. Even your relationship with God. There's no, we're humans. And one thing about being humans is that you cannot get it 100% every other day. Every single thing needs maintenance. You don't stop dating your partner because you got married. You don't stop learning them because you've known them for 10 years. Change is constant, you know. You don't stop choosing them because you really said, I do. Oh, okay. No more efforts, no more flowers, no more going out, no more date nights. Because, what else am I chasing? We're already married. There's nothing else. I think one of the most beautiful things anyone can say is, even after all these years, I'm still learning you. Because people grow. Dreams change. Seasons change. And intentional people grow with each other instead of growing apart. Another thing I think we don't talk enough about is being teachable. Each time when I bring this up, a lot of people say things like, which one is being teachable? But I do think that a lot of people in this world are not teachable. I was someone who wasn't teachable. I always love to believe in what I believe in. And a lot of people are guilty of that. But when it comes to marriage, I think you have to just throw that over the window. You have to learn how to be teachable. Why do you have to learn how to be teachable? Because two people who grew from separate homes, different perspectives, different areas are coming together to become one. So what makes you think that your own perspective is superior to the other person's perspective? You have to learn to adjust. You have to learn to be teachable. We all want someone who listens, but are we people who can actually be corrected without being defensive immediately? I think marriage requires two teachable people, not two perfect people. This is where I suggest or think that performance review should be included in marriage. Maybe every anniversary or maybe every 6 months, just the two of you, sitting down, no phones, no distraction, asking each other honest questions. What did I do this year that made you feel loved? What did I do that hurt you? What should I stop doing? What should I continue doing? How can I become a better partner to you? Because honestly, we do performance review at every area of our lives. At work, there is performance review, either individually or as a team or a department. We review our businesses. We write New Year resolutions, things we should have done better, things we should continue doing, and things we should inculcate. We reflect on our finance, how we spent money for the month, what we should be doing differently, what we should continue doing. We also reflect when it comes to our careers. So why wouldn't we intentionally reflect something as important as that in marriage as well? Imagine how many little issues will be resolved before they become big issues. I honestly think that that kind of conversation will save a lot of relationship and marriage. The next thing is something I think we've slowly forgotten. Marriage is a team. Somewhere along the line, people start seeing their spouses as opponents instead of teammates. It became me versus you instead of us versus the problem. Every disappointment becomes a competition. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. But if one person wins, the marriage loses. Then did anybody really win? The same thing applies to finance. Every couple would have different ways of managing money, and that's okay. But whatever system you both agree on, it should make you feel like a team, not competitors. Because the goal isn't to protect yourself from your spouse. The goal is to build a life together. When your mentality changes from what can I get to how can we grow, the entire relationship will change for the better. The next thing I think we don't normalize enough is asking for help. We made it seem like seeking help means your marriage has failed, and I don't think so. If anything, I think asking for help shows that you're trying to save something that matters to you. Think about it. When your body isn't functioning properly, do you ignore it? I'm sure the answer is no. You see a doctor or you go to the lab. When your car develops a fault, you don't just keep driving it. You see a mechanic. So why do we wait until marriage has completely fallen apart before asking for help? Sometimes the strongest thing a couple can do is to admit we are struggling and we need guidance. We need a counselor. We need a therapist. We need a trusted mentor. But one thing I have learned is this: not every problem is solved by pretending it doesn't exist. Sometimes healing begins the day you admit that you can't do it alone. Another thing I have learned is that not every advice is a good advice. I mean, sometimes people giving us advice genuinely mean well, but they are speaking from a place of pain, a place of hurt. They are speaking from their own pain, their own disappointment, their own experience. And without even realizing it, they project those fears onto your marriage. Someone who was betrayed may unintentionally convince you that nobody can be trusted. Someone who had a controlling partner may see control where there isn't. Someone who have never healed from a divorce may subconsciously make you believe that every disagreement is a sign that your marriage is ending and needs a divorce. That is why discernment is so important. Listen with an open heart, but don't receive every opinion into your marriage. Some advice comes from a place of wisdom, while some comes from a place of wound. You have to learn to know the difference. But still, you still need to talk to people if there's need to. Probably someone that is not biased. Someone that has a neutral feeling towards the both of you. That would be the best option. Finally, and most importantly, I don't think I would have had this conversation without talking about God. Now I understand that everyone watching might not share the same faith with me, but this is what I believe. If God created marriage, then it makes sense to invite him into it. Sometimes we spend so much time preparing for the wedding, but very little time preparing for the marriage. We prepare for the picture, the decoration, the outfit. Do we prepare our heart? Are we becoming kinder? Are we more patient? Are we more forgiving? Are we more selfless? Because at the end of the day, the guests will go. The music will stop. The decoration comes down. And the only thing left is your marriage. And that marriage is between the both of you. And God happens to be the third party that should be acknowledged in the marriage. So as you're putting in the real work, you still have to ask God for help, for direction, for obedience, for wisdom, for discernment. Because he's the author and the finisher of everything. And he created it. So he can never go wrong. He can never ever go wrong. So I don't think that these are the only reasons marriage struggle or the things to consider before getting married. Definitely not. Marriage is by far too complex for someone to reduce it to 10 points. No. These are simply some of the patterns I have observed over the years, read about, seen in older people, and probably people that have taught me or people that I look up to. If there is one thing I would say that I would take away from this conversation, I would just say marriage isn't built in one day. It doesn't usually fall apart in one day either. It's built in the little conversation, the act of kindness, the forgiveness, the intentionality, the willingness to keep choosing each other, even on ordinary days. If you're married already, I genuinely hope your marriage continues to grow stronger. If you're preparing for marriage, I hope you choose wisely, not perfectly, but wisely. And if you've experienced heartbreak, separation or divorce, I just want to say this to you. I hope healing finds you, peace finds you, happiness finds you, and above all, fulfillment and completion. I hope one difficult chapter never convinces you that your entire story is over. Regardless of everything, marriage is still a beautiful thing. God created it, and it wasn't created by accident. It was created because it was part of his design. And love still exists. The genuine kind of love God taught us. But you have to do the work by choosing wisely, by choosing better, and by knowing what matters, acknowledging the wants and the needs. And with that, we have officially come to the end of our Modern Relationship series. Thank you so much for listening. If my thoughts throughout this series resonated with you, please remember to subscribe, share this episode with a friend, leave your thoughts in the comments so we can keep talking. Until the next episode of In My Headspace podcast, take care of yourself.